Isotopes come from the words iso and tope. Isos means the same, and tope here is referring element. So isotopes are variants of the same elements, same element, meaning they have the same atomic number, the same number of protons, but they have different mass numbers. They have the same atomic number. They are the same element, but different mass numbers. So because they are the same element, because they have the same number of protons, they are going to have the same chemical properties. In other words, they behave the same in chemical reactions and bond the same way with other elements. The only difference between them is mass. What's interesting, all elements have isotopes. The element with the least number of isotopes is hydrogen, with just 3. Cesium and xenon have 36 known isotopes. That's the most number of isotopes that an element has as far as we know. Now for water, for hydrogen, the most common isotope has a mass number of 1. That hydrogen, having a mass number of 1, has only 1 proton and no neutrons. The second most common hydrogen isotope has a mass number of 2. So it has the same atomic number of 1, so it has 1 proton and 1 neutron. That's the most common, the second most common hydrogen isotope. We call that isotope deuterium because it has 2 nucleons, 1 proton and 1 neutron. Hydrogen, the third isotope for hydrogen, has a mass number of 3, and it gets that by having 1 proton and 2 neutrons. The water that we drink is made up with the most common hydrogen isotope, H1, the one that has a mass number of 1. Now heavy water, the water that's used for cooling nuclear rods and nuclear power plants, uses hydrogen 2. That's why we call it heavy water, because it uses the heavier hydrogen. So it tastes the same as the water we drink, since taste involves chemical reactions. However, it is heavier, making it more effective in cooling nuclear rods. Okay, let's look at the examples that we have here. We have an atomic number of 6 for these 3 atoms. Atomic number of 6, it means they are the same atom, the same element. So they are variants of the same atom. All 3 have the same chemical properties. Atomic number, remember, that's the number of protons. So they have the same number of protons of 6. Of course, when they are neutral, when they are not ions, they have their number of electrons is the same as their number of protons. So it's 6 for all of them. What's different between these carbons is the number of neutrons. Carbon 12 has only 6 neutrons, while carbon 13 is a little heavier since it has 7 neutrons. Carbon 14 is even a little more heavier since it has 8 neutrons. So by having different number of neutrons, they are different isotopes of the same carbon element. Their mass numbers are different. For the first is 12. That's why we call it carbon 12. For the second one, the mass number, 6 protons plus 7 neutrons, is 13. That's why we call it carbon 13. And this one, 14. That's why we call it carbon 14. So isotopes, the only different thing for isotopes is the number of neutrons and the mass number. As a consequence of having different number of neutrons, they will have different mass numbers.